Hello, I'm sorry. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the Flick and Reel Fancast. We are your source for news, reviews, and daily discourse. I am your host, Jesse Swift, and once again, we're back to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier today. So I, of course, had to bring on my co-host, Mr. Scott Fox.
Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here with you.
How you doing there, Scott?
Just a lot going on this week, and but
lot.
we're here for Falcon Winter Soldier, and the episode was jam packed, and there's a lot to talk about in a little amount of time.
Yeah, we got up early for this video, and because I have two videos, and then something that I don't get to tell people in public until after the fact coming up here today that I'm going to be working on. And then last minute, as I was getting ready for this video, it popped up that there was a Space Jam New Legacy trailer. So wow, I didn't watch that. It happened. It was a thing. But now we're going to talk about Disney Plus and Marvel and Sam and Buck and Zemo and Sharon and the Power Broker. Power Broker being the title of today's episode. You like that transition there? And that is episode 3 of Falcon and Winter Soldier, which I was like, cool, we're 3 episodes in. And then once it was over, I was like, wait, we're halfway through the show. Holy smokes.
This is only 6 episode series.
It's
that's
only
right.
6 episodes. That's why the episodes are about 10 minutes longer a piece than WandaVision.
And this one was the longest of the 3 so far. Total with credits and everything, 52 minutes, probably about 46 minutes of actual episode time.
Yeah, and it's not in a bad way, but you could feel that it was longer episode than the other ones.
Yeah, this definitely has that feel. We talked about this when we were going through WandaVision and the other shows. Is if you were to view it in the term of acts, this definitely feels like the second act. We're in the middle of the movie where we've got everything built up, laid out. Now we're kind of getting into some action, but a lot more development. And so there was a lot crammed into this episode trying to move things forward really quick.
Absolutely. And so we will dive, usually I have a bunch of jargon before we get into it, but we're just going to dive into talking about the episode. So very early on, I mean, we knew from the end of the last episode that they wanted to go talk with Zemo, but very quickly, Bucky's like, oh, I'll go talk to him. We have more of a history. I'll go talk to Zemo. Might be able to get some information out of him. There's a tense exchange. As expected, Zemo throws the words that he used in Civil War at Bucky. He's like, I just want to see how...
Rusted. 17. And I love that Bucky just cuts him off. That won't work anymore.
I wanted to see how the new you would react to old words. And I was like, man, this guy... I really like Daniel Bruhl. There's certain elements of how he was used in Civil War that I thought weren't all the way optimized, but I think they're making up for that ground in this show. Absolutely.
He was underwhelming as kind of a puppet master villain in that movie. And whereas here we get to see he has got something going on behind in everything. You almost have to be like everything that's happening. It's like, what's he doing? Like, watch Zemo, because he's into everything. And it's almost you really have to pay attention because you know that he's working out a separate scheme. Like, he's trying to help them along, do what they want to do, but he's got his own interest at heart. And so behind all of that, he's working his own stuff out. But yeah, his that initial conversation and the way they orchestrated the jailbreak sequence was clever. Very clever.
I did like, though, that Bucky came to Sam with a hypothetical. He's like, well, I think we need to let him out because we're going to need him for this. And that hypothetical was, here's what's actually happening in real time. And Zemo comes out there, and there's a great exchange between him and Sam. And he's like, I'm invaluable. And Sam's like, shut up. Not now. And it's just,
yes.
I loved that whole interaction. The writing in this episode was really good. I found out I'm forgetting the man's name, but this is the first episode that actually has a cinematic screenwriter. Everyone else writes for television in the last 2 episodes. And I think that showed. And if I'm not jumping too far forward, I was going to go to the airplane, or do we need to talk about something in between?
The only thing I think that was in between was that they did a little flashback to Captain Walker.
I call
John
him
Walker.
Captain America.
Captain America. That's let's go. We know this is going to come out. We don't know it for a fact, but let's just say U.S. agent,
Sure.
U.S. agent, and Battlestar, coolest guy ever. And actually, Battlestar has some great words of wisdom for Cap or Captain America, and but they show up to essentially where Carly was hiding in the last episode, and I think it was a very telling thing with all this superheroes and the super serum soldiers. Holy cow!
So it is
not really enough.
It's 8:00.
Okay, real quick. Good morning, Brandon. Glad you could join us. But when he grabs the guy and throws him against the wall, and it literally looks like me pushing somebody bigger than me, and it was so weak. Like he grabs him, like, "Do you know who I am?" and throws him against the wall. But it was the weakest throw, and it really did represent that John Walker is just a dude.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't even a tough push. Like the guy got pushed against the wall and was like, "My kid hits harder than that."
He's getting real wiry.
And he spit right in his face too. So good. Yeah. So good. Because John Walker needed it.
It's like, "Do you know who I am?" He's like, "That's why I spit in your face, fool."
Yeah, I love that he says yes, and I don't care. Oh, right. Oh yeah. If Steve Rogers walked in, people are pooing themselves. John Walker walks in, and people are like, "Whatever." Hey, he's a paper captain.
Walker, Texas captain. Sorry.
That's my fault. I should have seen the pun coming.
Should have.
Had coffee all over my desk.
So then we find out Zemo up until this point was never called Baron Zemo. I believe is it Helmet Zemo in the movies?
Helmet Zemo is his actual name. And then, they ask him there because he's got like a collection of incredibly nice cars.
Right.
They're walking out to a private jet, and Sam goes, "So secretly you've been rich this whole time?" And he's like, "I'm a baron." Yes. Like my family's wealthy.
And that feels like a little bit of retroactive story given to him. Like we all know him as Baron Zemo, but there's nothing really hinted at that in Civil War. But Civil War was only spinning about 30 plates at a time, so I get it.
No, dear goodness.
And I got to tell you, even before we do see earlier, he has his purple mask in like the backseat of one of the cars, and he slips into his bag, and I'm just like, that mask does a lot more for me than it should.
And I tell you what, the sequence when he dons the mask, and I know that's flashing forward, but when he dons the mask, it's like, yes.
It looks good.
Oh, man. In his coat with the high collar leather coat.
That's what I was going to say is just without the mask, the way he like struts down the way to the airplane in that big long coat with the fur on it, it's a good look.
Dude, they nailed his aesthetic. Like he looks good. Sounds pretty good.
Zemo in the comics has an absolutely ridiculous look. You know, he's got all like purple tights on with a little like animal fur collar and stuff. But they did give him the like speckled fur on the coat, and I was like, and it's like a deep purple.
Yeah.
But where do we find out? I guess we'll talk about some of the things that happen inside the plane. Somehow seems a little sloppy on Bucky's part, but Zemo gets his hands on Bucky's book, which we find out was actually Cap's book from the Winter Soldier. And they have a great back and forth about Marvin Gaye, which was probably, I think, the hardest I laughed in the episode. Where with the Trouble Man soundtrack.
Yes. Well, there's the Trouble Man soundtrack there. The list of things that he's got on there are pretty cool. He's got there's a screenshot of it. I Love Lucy, Moon Landings, the Berlin Wall, Steve Jobs, Picasso, Thai food. And it has Star Wars crossed out with Trek on the side. Nirvana as a band, and then Trouble Man soundtrack is the last one on the list there. And there's the debate over Steve Rogers loving Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
It's a fun moment where they're connecting. You get to see a little more of that relationship with Sam and and Buck continuing to be built. And the weird thing is, like, it seems like at some moments, Zemo is like this awkward third wheel in their growing relationship, and Zemo's kind of like, well, I'm the weird guy in this romance or bromance.
But a lot of times he pokes the bear, when he starts talking about Cap and saying he's just a man, you're idolizing him like as a god. You see that neither of them like what he's trying to say, but in some fairness, as much as he's trying to poke the bear, he does have a point. There is a worshiping of this like perfect person that doesn't exist. Because Cap, we love Cap. He's made mistakes. Granted, he makes far fewer mistakes than the average person, but
hey, we know in Ultron there was a time he was unworthy to lift Mjolnir, and that didn't come around until he had rectified some of his internal issues.
But the elevator was worthy. The elevator never did anything wrong.
You put it in the elevator lifts it. Is the elevator worthy? Still one of the best exchanges in all of the Avengers movies.
Yeah, and so there's that back and forth. What is it that Zemo said? Something about like it's an excellent representation of like the African American experience, and Sam's like, all right, he's way out of line, but he's right.
Yes. Oh no. Yeah. He's again. This is and we've addressed this when race issues come up. You and I, being Caucasian males, are not the most equipped to speak on those types of issues. And so Sam looks at Zemo, a white German guy, and just kind of going, wait a minute.
Sokovian?
Oh, sorry. A Sokovian Baron. And a rich guy too. Yeah. And being like, you're way out of bounds on this. Like you shouldn't be the guy with this kind of social protocol, but he's correct. Yeah. And I love that he kind of he's like that message shouldn't be coming from him, but it's accurate.
And we get introduced to, as people are affectionately calling him, Creepy Alfred, his butler.
Oh my gosh. And I love the exchange where he tells him if the food doesn't pass the smell test, serve it to them. And I almost was thinking in the back of my head, can Sam understand Sokovian? Because he looked pissed. Almost like what are you guys talking about underneath, like in a different language?
I feel like there's a good chance Bucky could. But
yeah.
But Sam, possibly not. All right, so we go to the magical land of Madripoor, which is ripped straight out of Marvel Comics and is known primarily for being connected with the X-Men. And there's like a sign of a bar that Logan goes to as Patch that shows up in the background. But other than that, we don't really get any inklings of any X-Men things like a lot of people were predicting. And I'm trying to tell everyone, get off your Mephisto horses. Let's just watch the show this time.
Yeah.
Other than the fact we've been introduced to the Power Broker, which is like the title of the episode. So we have some speculation on to who he or she might be. And so what happens when they get to Madripoor, when they get escorted by an escort? I love the colors. The city is beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it's off the charts. But I love that they all have to don different personalities, and Zemo basically tells them if our survival depends on you staying in character. And Sam has to dress as essentially a pimp. He's wearing the purple suit. He looked good, gold chain, all of it. And what is it? His tiger? What was it?
Smiling tiger.
I knew it was tiger something. And then Bucky has to don the Winter Soldier gear, but not just wearing it. He has to play the role of being brainwashed by Zemo to show that Zemo is in control. In order to give Zemo clout to be able to talk and act in the way he wants.
Degradingly so, too.
Oh, absolutely. And you can tell it bothers Bucky. But boy, when he has to turn it on, he turns it on quick. It gets really nasty in that bar.
Zemo even makes a comment to Sam, possibly trying to leave the seeds of distrust. What is it? Weave the seeds, sow the seeds of distrust.
Yeah,
there you go. I know words.
But we also saw. I also loved the drink Sam had to drink because the guy asked him the usual, and he cuts the guts out of a viper basically, and drops it in a shot of something. And Sam does like the triple take, like holds it up, and then tries to drink it, holds it back one more time, and then just throws it back, and then even does like
my favorite,
dude. Yep. And he gives him the thumbs up, like so corny, like good stuff. As he's like dying inside from drinking this stuff, and clearly he's not on the same level as far as quality or variety of drink that the other gentleman is, the actual tiger. But Smiling Tiger. But in that moment, everyone starts firing at their guns because Zemo says who he's there to talk to, and
Selba. Right?
Selba, yeah, and
Selby.
Zemo just tells Bucky attack, and it gets like he destroys those people. It was beautifully done. The action sequences there were awesome, and I think it's something like the action sequences so far have been mostly shooting and everything, not as much hand-to-hand combat. There was a short window on the top of the truck in the first episode, but this was intense. This was really intense. It was good stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But it was that moment of Zemo just kind of saying, "Hey, now," and Bucky picked up on it immediately that, okay, in order for this to maintain, they have to believe I'm under control. And after he cleans the room with him, the bartender's like, okay, let's calm down. She'll see you now. Which he beat his way into a pass to the upper room. So,
and they get in there, and we're introduced to Selby, who says that she's glad that she didn't kill Zemo when she had the chance, so that they could possibly partake in this exchange, which Zemo then offers up the Winter Soldier for a meeting with the power broker, or no, he's trying to get information on who's creating the serum.
Yeah, and
do you happen to catch the name, because I do not remember it. It's like
the doctor is Negev, or I have it. Nagel. Dr. Nagel is and she gives him hints about who he is and where it'll be, but she will not give. I love the line. She goes, "The crumbs are free, but you don't get the bakery." And the sorry. That interchange right there where they're debating it, and in that moment they're getting some good information. But even I love that Baron Zemo goes up and grabs Bucky's face and kind of
grabs him right by the chin.
He'll do whatever you want, and I'll give you the code to control him. And we also find out that all the actual priceless art in the world is hiding in this place. Like, they're all hidden here. Van Goghs, Da Vinci's, they're all in this place. But they
going well for a bit.
Yeah, everything's going well, and then Sam's phone rings.
Now that is the sloppiest, dumbest. Like I try.
How do you not silence your phone?
Like I wouldn't even bring my phone in there. And
yeah,
I'm not a military operations person.
I would have had it turned off completely because even on silent, if it starts vibrating, people can hear it and they'll know. And she tells him to answer it on speaker. And it seems to be going okay because the conversation could be mistaken. And Sam's trying to play up this role as Smiling Tiger about killing the banker and all this other crap. And then she calls him Sam. And then that's over. That little bit of calling him Sam, she's like, who's Sam? Kill him.
Yeah, and here's something about Cheerios, which is the first thing that causes her to pause. And then right when it's about to hit critical mass, we see that Selby gets shot in the back through a window. Bum, bum, bum. Bye.
Yeah. Sharon, I'm assuming, is the assassin because she saved their butts out in the street too. But that is not clearly lined. But even on their way out of there, they said that, hey, Bucky and Sam have to fight their way out with Zemo. But even on their way out, they're running out of it, and they said they're going to pin this on us. Like, they know they're in Madripoor. and people are getting killed. And Bucky was on camera. There were people filming him beating the crap out of people like a puppet. That's going to get back to his therapist. And he's on parole. He can't hurt people.
Also, Walker can use that against him. We did skip over the best part of that entire scene, though, of Madripoor, and that is Zemo getting his little boogie on the dance floor.
Oh yeah, there's
they meet up with Sharon, get taken back to her pad, and Sharon's been living it rough. Sharon is not the 2016 Civil War or Winter Soldier Agent 13, I think, that we knew her as. Not a, she used to be all hyped on Cap and doing the right thing for that group, and she's pretty disillusioned at this point.
Yeah, she doesn't want to go back. She's even pissed. She hasn't talked to her family. The last time she helped Sam and Cap, she was basically flagged as a villain against the United States.
Yeah,
and it's been 5 years. The snap did nothing to correct anything.
More than 5 years, because 2016 would be when she became an enemy of the state, and then you had 3 years between that and Infinity War, and then the snap, and then 5 years. She's been on the run for 8 years.
Ooh,
better half of a decade.
But yeah, they get back there, and then Sharon is able to, and we get some hints later on that Sharon may be into more or be maybe she's
broken.
Yeah, she's more than just this disillusioned agent from the US military from SHIELD. She is into some other stuff because she's got some people working for her too. Right. But she tracks down wealth. Yes. Money. Oh my gosh. When they're at her pad, it's like, damn, pretty nice place. And even some of those paintings we were talking about, Sam starts to scan it on his phone. He's like, holy crap, this is the real deal. But she through that interchange, he offers a pardon for her if she'll help. And then she finds the location of the container that will find Dr. Nagel. Which it's on a warehouse with a bunch of shipping containers where
one could argue impressively convenient, possibly. Like maybe she already knew about that whole situation.
Seemed to find the information fairly fast for a guy who's supposed to be invisible and under the power broker's protection. Or maybe she's the power broker. But anyways, oh my gosh.
It's possible. It is possible.
Wait a minute. Is she Evan Peters? Anyways,
there's a lot of people speculating in reality that Sharon Carter could be power broker, but there's a lot of things that we've been hinted at that seem like a little bit beyond her, maybe a little more cruel, a little more plotty, a little more out of character. But what this episode has hinted at is that we don't know Sharon anymore.
She straight up assassinates a couple people, or a lot of people. And when they're at the container place and it starts to go bad, and she's trying to protect them while they're inside getting the information from Dr. Nagel, she disarms a guy and then shoots him in the face.
She has seen and done some stuff.
Not the same Sharon from Civil War.
No, this is our action beat for the episode. Is call it Container Wars.
Mm-hmm. But before we get in there, we find out what that Dr. Nagel is actually doing, and how he's been able to manipulate the serum. And we know there's 20. He's made 20 vials, and at least 7 have been taken. So there's 13 vials left.
Yeah, I thought that Carly took and distributed 12 or something, or was it the opposite? Was it 8?
I thought it was 7, but I could be very wrong on here.
I am not 100% sure, but anyway, some were taken. He said that he had no serum in the lab. We find out that he was working on the serum, and then he was picked up by what is it? What affiliation picked him up? It wasn't the FBI. It was it's government
agency. CIA. He worked for the CIA to work on the material, but then when the blip happened, he disappeared. Comes back 5 years later, and his program shut down. So he went to the power broker, sold the rights, and they were more than glad to suck it up and say, "Hey, yeah, we'll fund your your work, and if you make us a super serum soldier, I can never get that right.
Just keep
but
doing it. We're
the
all
key,
saying
the
super
key,
serum soldier.
but the key is that he's making it different. It doesn't require machines to activate. It doesn't require other drugs in it. You take this, and he said it's perfect because it's subtle, because it'll make you a super hero, and you'll no one would ever know. And
I heard a funny comment where somebody said, "How convenient for your budget."
Yeah, all you got to do is take this pill, nothing else.
Yep.
We don't need this container. We don't need Howard Stark. We don't need anybody else.
Routine. Well, it's just like the budget for the show. It's just like put somebody through a Chris Evans workout regimen.
We had to pay 0 trainers to make this work. But most of those people are in pretty good shape anyways for the roles. But the crazy thing is they have him and they're interrogating him, and he's kind of spilling the beans. He's not holding much back at all. And things start to go bad. And Zemo wants no superheroes, period. And so instead of figuring out who has the stuff or how the stuff works or any of this extra information, Zemo goes straight to the guy who invented it and said, if, at worst case scenario, there will be no more. And he takes the dude out. First shot. And it almost shocks everybody else. Like, what are you doing? And then a giant missile hits the side of the container, and we're off and running.
We are off and running. We get some great fights. Oh, go ahead. We
also find out that the tests they were doing
yes,
on Isaiah were the everything they were using for the testing with Nagel. Nagel used those drugs and everything. Morning, Sean. Glad you're here to join us. And
I got to pause.
So the testing done on Isaiah now comes around because we know that he had it.
Just real quick plug, because Sean's in the chat here. Next Sunday morning, we will be doing a geek trivia match, and Sean will be one of our competitors in the triple threat. So stay tuned. Nice. Hop on the channel, set an alarm for that. Stay tuned for more news this coming week. But anyways, thanks, Sean. What's up? We get containers blowing up everywhere. Zemo kind of slinks off. Would have been a great opportunity for him to run away, but he puts on his mask and enters the fight and does a very well calculated shot into a gas line and just levels some people.
Oh man. You got a whole bunch of people using the gas line as their, this is there's a gunfight, bullets flying everywhere, and nobody's hitting this giant pipe, and everyone's hiding behind the pipe as protection. And then Zemo from the top, one shot explodes. It's like the guy who decides, oh, there's a car right next to those villains. I'm going to shoot the gas tank so it'll explode, which, by the way, doesn't work unless you have a tracer round, but it was pretty good. The explosion was good. And then we see Zemo kind of jump into the fight, and he starts waxing some people, and basically Bucky and Sam are just watching, and they can see what he's doing. But it did have that textbook feel of you got to be kidding me. Like the one shot explosion. It's a pretty weak movie trope, but the great thing is after they clear house, they're running away, and somehow Zemo finds a really, really nice convertible Mustang, and everybody jumps in, and we're right back at Civil War. You're not going to move your seat up, are you? Nope.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. I saw somebody was making what seemed like a really dramatic tribute to Captain America, and they said it was called "Why Sam Wilson is Ready to Be Captain America," and it kept showing all these instances of where somebody pushed back at Cap and Cap wouldn't move. He whether it was something he stood for, like a moral, or just in a fight, he didn't move. And then it cuts to Sam. Bucky's like, will you move your seat? He says, nope. And then they're like, he's ready.
Yeah. But basically from here, we basically flash forward to the end here where they're going in to go see somebody. And
we do have Carly. We forgot about Carly. In the
chapters. Sorry. Oh my gosh. So we get a good conversation with Carly and the person next to her, where they're talking about what they're doing. But basically, they go in and they hijack all the supplies so that they can basically feed and fund their entire organization for 6 months. And so they break in and steal everything, and they disarm all the guards. They have them tied up inside. And they get in the car, and she immediately says, "Put on your seatbelt." And she buckles up, and the guy's like, "I'm a soup, like, why?" And she's like, "Put it on now." And then, boom, the whole thing is over. And so she flipped from, she turned the corner to full on terrorist, because there were
like a humanitarian kind of to a terrorist.
Yeah, she was trying to set things right. Now she's, and the driver, the gentleman with her, looks shocked, and he's like, "What did you do?" There were people in there, and then she says that's the only language they speak. Boom.
And before that, because we find out that Sam and Buck are kind of hot on her trails, and they're finding out who she is. We don't know clearly if it's her mom, but clearly somebody that Carly cared about passed away.
And she was trying to get Dr. Nagel to help heal that lady with the serum.
And then before we get to the end, we also go back to Walker, Texas Captain and Battlestar, and they are talking about, this might not be the exact chronological way things happened, but they're very sure that it was Sam and Bucky that let Zemo out, and Walker's saying Walker things, and Battlestar's kind of trying to calm him down a little bit. I like seeing that they've given Hoskins a mind of his own, and he's not a
mindless follower of Cap. But Cap tells him, "Listen, as long as we get the job done, they won't care." And so we know that he's willing to step outside of what's morally correct, which is something that, well, Captain America, Steve Rogers, even did what was considered wrong for the right reasons, but his was more moral. Walker's like, "Hey, we can bend the rules and do some bad stuff in order to get what we want, and they'll forgive it when we're done," because he's Cap. This goes right back to, he's becoming arrogant about his position.
Absolutely.
Do you know who I am? Like, the tone for Walker got shifted in this episode.
It did. But I think that shift works the best because we were set up almost liking him at the beginning. Like, he seems like an okay guy that's just kind of got a lot thrown on his shoulders. And I love that they are making it a human character. Now, we don't agree with him necessarily. We're not fans of him. But he's not just a one-note, shallow villain. He's getting full of himself.
Power is one of the most corruptible things on the planet.
One of my favorite quotes from Batman v Superman is, "Absolute power corrupts absolutely."
Yep. And that quote is actually from outside of there as well.
I know, but I don't care.
But it's true. The desire for power, or once people get power, they don't want to relinquish it, and it is one of the most corruptive things that you can have on the planet. And we are seeing that the power and the position of being Captain America is going to John Walker's head. And he also realizes they're way behind. They are so far behind Falcon and Winter Soldier. Bucky and Sam literally are 4 steps past them. And these guys are never going to figure it out. Yet somehow Sam and Bucky, because Bucky's 106 years old, they know all kinds of things that other people wouldn't. And Bucky has intimate knowledge of Hydra. There's all kinds of things. But Walker and Battlestar are so far behind.
Can I tell you what I want? I want Sam and Buck to get in a tight spot where, like, Walker has him on the rope somehow or something, and Isaiah Bradley knocks him on his ass. That would be fantastic. Just comes out of left field and just old man haymakers right in the side of the dome.
Dude, seeing how hard that guy threw that can, I assume he still punches like a freight train. So,
absolutely.
And like, he's got the legit good stuff. And the other thing is, we know that it said that he had an unstable version of the serum that Nagel was drawing off of. So his super serum might be different than what Cap had, what Bucky had. but his is said to be an unstable variety of it.
And that's something that comes straight out of the comics. Isaiah was slowly kind of losing his mind over time. It was like a degenerative thing with his brain because it wasn't a perfected serum. And for a while, I liked the consistency of that Dr. Erskine was the only person that was able to like perfect the serum, and everyone else is just like a flawed copy. So it makes me it makes me curious if this serum that the Flag Smashers are using is also flawed. If it's making Carly a bit darker or angrier, or if John Walker already had it or is getting it or something, and that causes him to go down,
I don't think he has it because his strength is not on par.
Right. You talked about his
if he actually had it, I could guarantee he would be abusing that strength as a means to interrogate people and to get information that he wants. So I don't think he does yet, and that we'll probably see where we see his downfall is once he gets it. But I tell you what, he is unworthy of the shield. I think that's already starting to show a little bit, and it's really going to come out here in the next 3 episodes. The question is, we jump past it. Bucky tells Sam that if Sam before Sam takes the shield, that Bucky wants to rip it off of Walker's body. Yes, please. Oh,
do it.
Oh man, but that's so now we can flash forward all the way back to the end of the episodes. They're going into a building to go talk to somebody.
Our little pizzazz at the end.
Yeah, and we see this. Bucky stops, and because he sees the thing on the ground, and he picks up the bead, and it's a Wakandan bead, and he heads back, and he's almost following breadcrumbs. He finds the next one, and then he comes out, and he's like, "You dropped these." Yeah.
What's really interesting is somebody showed in Falcon, or sorry, in the Winter Soldier, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, the little bomb that he tossed under the car, rolled under the car, is the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like with the same insignias on it and stuff. So at some point, Winter Soldier got his hands on like Wakandan technology prior to Civil War, possibly. Anyways, implications. But the Dora Milaje, the defenders, the guards of the King of Wakanda, the Black Panther, who are still understandably angry about the murder of a certain King T'Chaka.
Yep. And we find that she is out, and she just says, "I'm here for Zemo."
Right. Which it was a surprise, but also you could have seen it coming. And I think it's a welcome addition. Where do we go from here? Hey, that's Matt Thomas. You'll be seeing him on the channel here in just a few minutes after we wrap this up. So yeah, where do we go from here? Now that we're introducing Wakanda, what other elements do we see? Because she's not just going to, get talked away. She's not going to go home and simmer down. We might have an all-out war here. And how ironic and awkward is it going to be if Bucky has to defend Zemo from the people that took care of him, the people that helped get the garbage out of his head, the gobbledygook, the brainwashing.
Especially because he's currently borrowing their vibranium arm.
That's true. And what if they have a way to like remotely shut his arm off because they built it? Oh.
Or maybe they have a way to reprogram him because they took out the Hydra program, and maybe they got a different set of 7 words that can make him
like Yibam Bay, and he's just like,
"Oh my gosh." That's the fun part about this is there's so many directions. We still don't know who the power broker is. There's a lot of there's been a lot of characters introduced right now. We now have the Wakandans in it. We have Captain John Walker. And we have we have the Americans, we have Wakandans, we have the power broker, we have Zemo, who's this rogue person who they're trying to use. Yeah, we got Sokovian and Bucky and Sam are in the middle just going, okay, we're trying to figure this out. Like we're all the way out of our
The
league.
Shield. We're so like we said earlier on, we're halfway through the show now, and John's still holding on to that shield. Kick his ass, Sam.
That
Anyway.
I believe that will be a final 10 minutes of the entire series. We won't see the shield ripped from his
But we
probably
see
not
Sam
lifeless
practicing
anymore.
with it. We see Sam and Buck practicing with it in the woods. You tell me that's like the last scene of the movie or show? A movie show, whatever it is.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll get lucky and that'll be the next episode. And Bucky will get to punch Walker right in the schnoz.
Right.
And it'll be great for everybody.
That's right. All right. Well, I mean, that's the show. Let's see. Do I have any last thoughts on here? Not really. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Scott, thanks for helping me keeping it nice and tight here today. It was a thick episode to try to get down into 41 minutes.
Yeah.
But it was good. I'm really loving the show. I'm curious to see where it goes. It's definitely a different experience. I feel like the weeks drag a little more than with WandaVision, because WandaVision was like a week of all this crazy speculation and theories and watching people break stuff down. Not as much of that right now, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We're having a good time. So we'll definitely be seeing you guys next week. But if you're already here, stick around, because we're going to be talking about Godzilla versus Kong. And Scott, once you get the chance to watch it, I can't wait to talk with you about it.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's so much fun. So until next time, guys, keep it real and see you then.